So in today's video, we're going to be looking more at patterns and sequences that we've been learning the last day and a half. So for this example, we're going to be looking at pool borders. So that means like borders around the pools, the swimming pools. So our job is to buy the right number of tiles for the border of different sized swimming pools. So this is going to come in handy, especially if you want to build your own pool, right? So this is a 3x3 pool. As you can see, it's 3x3 on each side. Without counting them one by one, how many orange tiles should you buy for the border of Eugene's 3x3 swimming pool? So I know that each side of my square here is a 3x3 by 3 and by 3. Okay, I know I have 4 sets of 3. So I have 3 times 4, which is going to equal my 12. So I know that that's just the sides, and we can't have a swimming pool without these essential tiles right here in the corners. So what I can do is I'm going to add 4 to the end of it, to my 12, because the corners also need to be counted. So what's 12 plus 4, which would be 16. And then how do I know? I could type something out such as, I know that the sides of my squares are 3, and it's a 3x3, and the area would be 9, and then I need to include all 4 corners, and something like that. So once you're done typing your answer, remember you need to write words as well. Make sure you hit share with class. When you're done with that, hit the next button. So same thing. Now we're going to deal with a 5x5 pool for Kelly, but we can't count them. So I know there are 4 sides to a square. So I know that I can do the same process, which would be 5 times 4 plus my original 4 corners, because I also need to include the corners. So 20 plus 4, which would give me 24 squares, or tiles. So she needs 24 tiles around her pool. How do I know? You can say the same reason. I knew the sides, therefore I could figure them out, and I needed to include the corners in order to make sure the whole pool is covered. So I'm going to hit the next button here, and now we're actually going to deal with a 10 by 10. So it says, how many orange tiles should you buy for a border of the Ray's 10 by 10 swimming pool? So I know that this side from here to here is 10. From here to here is 10. And so on and so forth. All of my sides are 10. So I'm going to take my 10 and I'm actually going to multiply it by 4 because there's 4 sides to my square. But I also need to include each of the 4 corners because I can't have a swimming pool without corners, right? So let's see. If I hit submit, it'll start counting. If it gets all the way to the end and I have no extra tiles, such as it does, then that means I counted correctly. Now here's the big difference. If I did not include those 4 corner tiles, look at what happens. Ray's gonna fire me first off for laying his tiles because I didn't lay them all down. Now let's say I had actually more. Let's say I said plus 7 extra tiles. Okay, for some weird reason. If you got it wrong, it's gonna put off the tiles over here. So definitely for the next one, for number 5, what I'd like for you to do is actually try this one on your own. I want you to do it. I want you to see if you're gonna be right. Use the same methods that we've been using. Remember, there's no tricks for this. So go ahead, pause the video, and go ahead and try. Now that you've tried, let's get back to it. So I know that there's 13 squares on each side. There's 4 sides to a square. And my original 4 tiles. So 56 should have been your answer. Let's see if it's right. Yep, 56 tiles for Mason's pool. Now, Mason is happy. Kelly would be super sad if I forgot her 4 tiles, but I definitely remembered Mason's. hit the next button and do this one. Now I have a 16 by 16 pool. Now that you've done your 16 by 16, let's see if you're right. I have 16 squares on each of my 4 sides of my square. And you need to add 4 for each of the corners. Don't forget those 4s. Let's see if it's right. Boom! 68 tiles for our little Colemans. Hopefully they're super happy. I don't know who would own a 16 by 16 pool. So now let's say, you know, Bill Gates wanted us to build his pool and figure out how many tiles are going to go around his n size number of pools, okay? Or, you know, Aunt Mary down the street or something. So there is an n times n swimming pools. The dimensions of this pool are n by n. We don't know what n is though. A good example, the ones that we've been dealing with are 10 by 10, 20 by 20. They're both the same number because you can't have like a weird odd angled pool. We want square pools. So I want you to think of how many orange tiles should you buy for a pool with a side length of n tiles. Think about what we've actually been doing. We've been multiplying and adding. So I want you to take a second. I want you to think, how could I write an equation essentially in order to create this? So now that you've thought about it and paused the video, hopefully, remember back to the previous one. What we did here is we knew how long this side was. In this case, for our n by n pool, we don't know. So what we do know is that there are 4 sides to a square. So the first thing I'm going to enter is 4n. Okay, I know that however many tiles there are per side, I need to multiply that by 4. I need to add my original 4 corners to each side. So let's test this out. You have to hit submit in order for you to go to the next screen. So if I click the next screen, it says you have to buy tiles for 10 pools and for 10 different families. So the first family is an Ortez, and they have a 12 by 12 pool. So we're actually going to use our little formula here and see if it actually works. So when you hit buy tiles, let's see if it works. Boom! We get exactly 52 tiles, and it goes all the way around their pool, and they're super happy. If we try the next one, same thing. The Michaels are happy because they got 76 tiles and it fits around their 18 by 18 pool. Little Cuffers, I'm going to assume, Cufferys, their 7 by 7 pool is perfect. And you're just going to keep going, and we're going to see that our equation works for all of these families. The Sparks families, the Randolph's family, 20 by 20 pool, a super big pool. All of these are working because our equation is saying, hey, take your size of your pool, multiply it by 4, and add 4 because each of the corners need to have one. So as we continue on, we only have 2 pools left, and it's working for all of them, no matter the size. And there's other different ways that you could phrase this equation, 100%. So if we hit the next one, we need to fix this error. There's Sam's shopping list for the tiles of 5 families swimming pools. One of them is incorrect. I want you to take a second and figure out which one's wrong. Why is it wrong? And go ahead and do that. So for this example, I'm actually going to go over it with you, obviously. So we're actually going to look at these here, and I'm going to use a calculator to show you. So let's start with Kim. If I know my equation is 4 times n plus 4, what I can actually do is work backwards. So I'm going to actually take this 600, subtract 4 from it, and then divide it by 4 and see if I can get an even nice number. So their pool is 149 by 149. Holy cow, that's a big pool. So I'm going to take 484 and subtract 4 because I want to get away from the tiles that are in the corners and divide by 4 because of the 4 corners, or the 4 sides of my square. So let's look at the Andersons. 100 minus 4 divided by 4. It's going to give me a nice 24 by 24 pool. And then 256 minus our original 4 divided by 4. Again, I'm just working backwards. Would be 63. So one of these has to be wrong. Let's see whose it is. Do you think a 55.5 by 55.5 pool is going to be nice and even for somebody to lay tiles on? Don't think so. So the person that's wrong, their tile shopping list wrong, is Cruz, because his pool is has a decimal. You could say his tiles have a decimal, or you can say anything along those lines of that. His pool is not a perfect n by n pool. So for the last slide here, what makes numbers and variables valuable? So in this activity, you've seen expressions with numbers, such as 2 times 5 plus 2 times 13, or just 56. Okay, you've also seen expressions with variables, like our equation that we did. When is each kind of expression more valuable than the other? So when would you use the, okay, I'm going to take this side, multiply it by 4, and then add 4, or count, or anything like that, versus just giving a formula and you can find the number of pool tiles there are. This is completely up to you. Once you're finished with it though, let's move to you're going to go into your summit and do cool down number 2. So once you open cool down number 2, it looks something like this. It's similar to what we've been dealing with. You're going to answer this question, and there's only 2 questions for it. So make sure that you're explaining your reasoning, my children, and including a sketch if it helps support your reasoning. So if you want to sketch out the next step, or the next 3 steps, I guess, and what step 35 would be, use our formula, or in this case, a formula for this one. So go ahead and get started, and if you have not finished checkpoint 1, make sure you do checkpoint 1!